Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for dropping in. I'm your host, Sean Dustin, and this is a Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. A couple of things contextualizing this episode number 190, almost to 200. This is with Andy Ross. He is actually the American Rebel Andy Ross, who is a TV show host of a outdoor network channel show called Maximum Archery. It's kind of actually one of the first archery or actually hunting programs there were out there. So I'm got him on the show. But what I really want to do is sort of contextualize a little bit about around 26 minutes in this episode. Andy has to go and grab a new charger for his phone. And so I took that as an opportunity to let everybody know about my ex-brother-in-law, Brian Kranz, who is struggling with cancer right now. And Brian, if you're a Supercross fan, Brian was Eli Tomac's mechanic for 11 years. Followed him from Honda over to Kawasaki, and then retired from that. But he came down with cancer, and Eli Tomac set up a GoFundMe for him. And then I talk about that at 26 minutes. So there will be a link to the GoFundMe in the description of this episode. Anywhere that I do put links up, that will be a part of it. And then also, too, if you look down below right here that I have scrolling across underneath me, I am going to be doing podcast production, editing, all of the things podcasting, consultations. If you're a business out there, if you're an individual and have a business, if you want to add podcasting as a part of your marketing plan, it's a great idea. It actually helps to solidify you as a expert in your whatever industry, whatever it is that you're talking about, whatever your niche is. Adding a podcast can help sort of put you as a expert in whatever it is that you're talking about. So if that's something that is of interest to you, or you just, maybe you have a podcast and you're falling flat and maybe you need somebody to take a look at what you're doing. And if I think that I can help you out or improve upon what you already have, feel free to hit the link below, set up a free 30-minute consultation call, and we can discuss all that stuff. We can explore what you're doing and how I might be able to help you. What else is there? Other than that, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to the show if you're watching on YouTube. If you're looking at this on Facebook, if it's there, go ahead and hit like, all the things that you need to do. If you're listening to this on Anchor or any of the podcast platforms, do me a favor and subscribe or rate and review the show. That's always a help. It's always a plus. And also, if you are, I'm coming back over to here. I don't have my website up yet, but if you go to my link tree, and that's the website below there, go to my link tree. Everywhere that the show is, all of my social media platforms, all the things that we're doing, Rumble, YouTube, all that stuff is going to be right in my link tree. Some of the episodes of shows that I've been on, like the Leap podcast, I did a great 3-part series over there. That's right at the top of my link tree too as well, so you can listen to all 3 of those episodes. It's a really detailed dive into my story with a mental health counselor. So that's what Susan Casey is. Leap podcast, check that out. But yeah, the link tree has all the stuff and all the places and spaces that you can find the show. You can even support the show monetarily. There's a merchandise store. There's a Patreon, although I haven't done much over on Patreon. There's a lot of legs to having a podcast. So if I can help you in any way as a business or a person to figure out what your goals are in wanting to do a podcast, go ahead and hit me up. And check out the link tree to all the work that I've done, and maybe we might be a good fit. Other than that, hey, keep it 100. Keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. A Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin. Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug.
God, I hate when that happens.
Hey, it's worth hearing twice. Play it.
Yeah. Yeah, enough people know about my story. We're here to hear about your story, man. So thank you. Let's shout out to your publicist for setting us up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anna and all the great people, Keith and An and Zach, all the great people over there at Burning Ground. They do a great job. They put us on a lot of shows and really help us promote our concerts and events and press. So, yeah, shout out to them for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And so let's get into you. You're a singer-songwriter. You've been on some TV shows. You had a 10-year run with your archery channel or show that you did over on the Outdoor Network. So let's just get into you. Tell me a little bit about you, brother.
So, I grew up in a small town called Chanute, Kansas. Ended up moving to Kansas City when I was about 16, 17 years old. I've been really blessed to turn a lot of my passions and hobbies into businesses and into success. I was an avid bow hunter, loved bow hunting, loved the outdoors. I started making some bows kind of as a hobby at first. And, over time, we started selling quite a few bows. But the thing that was going on at the time, the hunting TV, outdoor TV was really popular. Great shows, Michael Waddell and Lee and Tiffany and Ralph and Vicky and just all kinds of great shows. And we really needed to get somebody to shoot the bow on TV. But all of the TV personalities already had contracts with bow companies and relationships. So, couldn't get it done. So anyway, I got a guy to come film a couple of my hunts. We filmed 4 hunts, made a little DVD, edited it all together, put it in the box with the bows. And, that was my best effort at it because, like I said, I couldn't get anyone to shoot the bow on TV at the time. And, the network got a hold of the DVD, and the next thing you know, I know they're calling me, asking me if I want to do a show. So now I'm making bows, obviously shooting my own bow on the show. And little did I know I'd bow hunt the world on outdoor TV for 10 years. But it was a great time, and I got to, be in a lot of great places, do a lot of things I never thought I'd get to do. But we were working hard, man. We were in the woods and traveling. We were in the outdoors 7 months a year, and then we were doing things like the Iowa Deer Classic, Great American Outdoor Show, those type of events, when we weren't hunting. So it was a full-time plus gig for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, you were actually making the bows, you were using the bow on that show, and so that was a great marketing tool, right?
Yeah, I ended up selling the bow company, and when I sold the bow company, part of the agreement is that they would sponsor me and endorse me back to the company, and that I continued to do the show for another 3 years. So that's how I ended up doing the show for 10 years.
Sweet. And so what else have you done? You have quite an extensive the thing that you sent, or that your publicist sent of some of your accomplishments. So a singer-songwriter, country, what can you direct me to, or the audience to, of some of the things that you've, like some of your most
well, how that whole thing came about. So I'm going to step back to the TV show for just a second, because everything just kind of rolled from the previous deal. So I'm doing this show. I'm about 4 years into the show. At the time, it was called Maximum Archery. But about 4 years into it, I noticed that all these X Games were getting really exciting. What kids were doing with BMX bicycles and skateboards and motocross and the video games that they were playing were starting to get really realistic and had a lot of activity to them. And I told my cameraman, Mike Osborne, I said, kids are not going to want to be bow hunters. It's not as exciting as some of the stuff they're doing. If every week, if every day they turn on the TV and they just see me, going, hey, it's Tuesday. We're in Kansas. The wind's out of the west. We got to make this look more fun and really step up our game. So I changed the name from Maximum Archery to Maximum Archery World Tour. I took all the dates and the locations and the species we were hunting, put them all in a straight line on the back of the t-shirt, like an old Van Halen concert shirt or Journey concert shirt. And we had this idea that we weren't going to have a hunting show. We were going to have a show about a group of guys, cameraman, production, me as the host and hunter, that are actually on a tour filming the hunting show. So it was really reality TV before I even knew what that name meant. Mm-hmm. And the show was 3 segments long, and it used to be 3 segments of hunting. Well, now it became 2 segments of the travel, of the nightlife, of the almost trouble we got into on a regular basis, pulling over to a small town and doing laundry. We were moving our gear in road cases. We were in a tour bus. And it was like a tour, like a big band tour, except it was a hunting tour, not a music tour. Well, I could play, and I thought I could sing and write a little bit. And I thought, well, what would be cool is if we added some music to this, because now it's Maximum Archery World Tour. So I wrote some songs that we put on the show, like "Gotta Go Hunting Blues," "Hunt Me Down," "Support Your Local Wildlife," "Blood Trail on a Whitetail," and these songs were songs, but they were really built around the show and the campfire and the opening number to the intro. The credits are rolling in and out of commercials, and we were using this rocky or country rock originals, if you will. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden iTunes comes out, and digital file sharing and all the, started to get into these digital formats. And I'm at the Iowa Deer Classic signing autographs and posters and DVDs, and there's a pretty nice line. And these smartphones had come out, and I was still operating the flip top, but the smartphones had come out. And these guys were in the line with their phone up in the air. They had my song, "Blood Trail on a Whitetail." They had my song on their phone. And I had made, I had some shoe-ins to make the music, because a lot of the country artists and people in country music are hunters. So there was I had a lot of national touring, big-time artist people that actually watched my show and had reached out to me over some time. So I'd worked with a producer by the name of Doug Grau to record these hunting songs, and I didn't think of it as a music career. I thought it just made the show a little more fun.
Yeah.
But these kids got my music on their phone, and I said, "How did you?" When they got up to him finally, I said, "How did you get my music on your phone?" And they said, "Well, we went to iTunes, but it wasn't there, so we took it off your website." So when I got a break, I called Doug Grau back in Nashville. I wasn't even living here in Nashville yet. And I said, "Hey, these kids have my music on their phone, and they said they would have bought it if it had been on iTunes, but they couldn't find it on iTunes. Could we get those songs on iTunes?" And he said, "Andy, if they'll buy that music, they'll buy a real album of music. Why don't you come to Nashville and let's make a record?" So now I'm off making a record. I put out the You Ain't Seen Crazy Yet record. Then we did an album called Cold Dead Hand, in which a song off that, the title track song off that, landed across the ears of Danny, the Count, off of Counting Cars. And he wanted to build me the Second Amendment muscle car, so he had me on his show. And it was called Rocked and Loaded. And I mean, when that thing came out, when that show came off, stuff just started, all kinds of music started going viral and downloading and tour requests. And so, we followed that up with Time to Fight, the Time to Fight album. And then we're now working on the fourth album called Lucky to Be Alive. We're in the studio, almost, weekly here as in this process right now to put out the fourth record. So I was making some bows, videoed some hunts, got an offer to do a TV show, started doing music on the TV show. Then the music takes off. So after 10 years of doing the show, I have to kind of choose between continuing to do the show or touring the music. And I'd done the show for 10 years, and I was more excited to have. So
I would have chosen the same thing.
I know this from personal experience. Typically, not every time, but typically, the women at a concert are a little bit prettier than the girls in hunting camp. Now, not every time, but I'm a single guy, so we chased after that, and now. Where we sit today, I had a song out in 2015 called American Rebel. It was off the Time to Fight record, and it went kind of viral as a patriotic anthem, and we decided to build a brand around it. Product, concealed carry products, and we made handgun boxes and started making full-size gun safes. And as of February of this year, of 22, we are now a publicly traded company on NASDAQ.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we've went from bow hunter to getting to make music to continuing, obviously, to make music, and CEO of a publicly traded company.
Wow. That's quite a story, and especially, how the progression of it is just, one opportunity led to another opportunity, to another opportunity, to another opportunity.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, people are trying to find, whatever that secret sauce is, right? It's how am I going to get this, or how am I going to go viral, or how am I going to do? And you can't plan none of that. It just has to happen.
In fact, it's like you just said, most things that I planned didn't necessarily work out, but while I was pursuing that, something else, just kind of came in the side door. I mean, I wasn't thinking I would really do a TV show. I was trying to make bows. I didn't think when I made some music on the show that I'll be, playing the NRA night race at Bristol Motor Speedway and big festivals. And I didn't think when I wrote a song, it would land me on Counting Cars. And I didn't think, the song American Rebel, I mean, I was in hopes it would become a patriotic anthem, of course, but I didn't know when we started to build a brand around it. I thought, yeah, we'll build some products around it to help support the revenue. It's going to be a publicly traded company on NASDAQ and flying out to Manhattan and New York 2 and 3 times a year and, learning all the things I've had to learn to do this job. So it's an ongoing learning process, but one thing has just kind of sparked the next thing. But I think that has to do with whatever you do it the best you can and be active. Nothing really, nothing that amazing happens from sitting at home. I got to be out doing something and making something happen. And, you got to go looking for those opportunities, or at least you got to put yourself out somewhere where those opportunities can accidentally find you. That's not going to happen from my living room. So I had the ability to be out. I was out at trade shows, and then I was out doing events, and I was traveling, and I just kept, as I said, I've been really blessed to turn a lot of passions into success.
Yeah, and I think that's it, right? You got to find something, and I've tried to do that as well. Like drones, drones. When I was playing around with them, they were hobbies, and then they came out with the F-107 license to fly commercially and be able to charge people to do that. I decided to do that, turn it into a business. And then 2020 kind of hit, and a lot of things changed for that. But I mean, it was, I think Yeah, I think, just having a team really would, whenever it is you try to do something, that really helps. Because a lot of times I've been trying to do things on my own, and there's not enough hours in the day. And, the things that I don't know, I mean, that's, I guess, what you would, hire somebody to do the things that you can't. Um, One of the things I want to ask you though, you mentioned a lot about, hunting and stuff like that. I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. That's how I got my start in podcasting, through listening to Rogan, and he's an avid hunter. And I listened to him a lot about Cam Haines and, Steve Rinella, a huge meat eater fan. That's a great show. That's like the newer version of what you were doing, because you were early in the game.
Yeah.
With all that. So, I mean, there's been tons of, I think technology in that industry has really pushed things, pushed the envelope on, from supplies to products to, even the gear that they're using these days are just top of the line. So my question is, tell me your philosophy around hunting, because every hunter has a philosophy, and what they do and how they're connected to the land and the food, which most of us aren't connected to that, right? The I would love to hunt, but it's, I'm a felon, so the only way I'm going to be able to hunt is either with a bow or a crossbow. And I don't even know if that's legit. I've started growing my own food, vegetables and stuff like that. Started that process and connecting myself to that type of food. I mean, I think everybody needs to start there, and see how that feels. So tell me about what it's like for you, to be able to get your own food.
Yeah, hunting started out very much the way you're describing in the question you're asking. I started hunting as a kid. I did upland and upland bird hunting, waterfowl. I got into archery. My whole show was archery, maximum archery world tour. Everything we did was archery. And it got to a point where, if you're hunting in Canada or you're hunting moose in the Yukon, you can, but there's really no economical way at all to like fly your meat home.
Yeah.
And we're not going home. We're going to the next hunt now because we're making TV. We're going hunt to hunt to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we got into was participating heavy in an organization called Hunters for the Hungry. And just about everywhere we went, we were able to donate, to Hunters for the Hungry. And, you'd be surprised. The first time I saw this, I was down in Alabama on a deer hunt. And there's actually, like, where you go get your hunting license and stuff, there's actually a bulletin board post of people that say, we need food. And if you don't even have to pay to, process the deer. If you just gut it and drop it on our porch, we would love to have it. So you really got connected to, I hunted so much, I could never begin to eat everything, that we were taking down. So we were heavily involved in Hunters for the Hungry. And
Yeah,
a lot
super cool.
Yeah, and a lot of the processors, like, let's just say it was $150 to process a deer. The processor, there's always processors in the area that say, look, we'll do it for 75. You put in 75, we'll donate 75. So, we're both in it for $75. We'll process it. We'll get it to the food kitchens and where it needs to go. The $75 I'd kick in would, just help with some of the expenses and stuff that they had to do it, but they were basically donating their time to process it if we would donate it. And we helped establish that. I mean, even in areas where if they didn't have it, we were able to talk to some people and get it going. So we were real big into that.
And that's really important now, is that we're seeing that, I know you're not doing it now, but I'm sure that organization and what they're doing has gotten bigger with all the other, shows and people that, can't necessarily, eat all the meat that they kill.
Yeah.
So my next question would be for you, so when you watch some of these shows, you see some hairy situations that people get into, like some of the hunters get into with, bears or, any other type of wild animals that come around, a kill. What do you have any stories of near misses for yourself?
Well, I have a lot of, so-called scary stories. I was the guy that hunted a lot of the dangerous game. I hunted grizzly bears with a bow. We hunted mountain goats and I hunted a feral bullfighting bull in Mexico with a bow and sharks and we did all kinds of crazy stuff. So, we were always, pushing the envelope. But yeah, you can get yourself hurt, real easy, and not just by the animal either. There's just, when you take a float plane and get dropped on the McMillan River in the Yukon and you're staying in a trapper cabin, they're not picking you up for 10 days. In 10 days they're coming back. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You can cut yourself real bad. You can fall, you can twist a knee, up in the mountains. There's just a lot of things, but I'd have to say, I probably don't, I don't have any stories of where I got hurt so bad where they had to life flight me out or anything like that. But, we got bruised up and banged up and scraped up and cut up, all the time.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. And that's one of the things, when you're walking around out and, you're not wearing the right shoes or the right gear, and you sprain a knee or something like that. That could end, especially if you're not going to be picked up. I imagine you got some sort of a sat phone or something for emergencies. Emergency situation. But it's that would be rough.
We'd have a satellite phone and even if you got through and called it, if you had to, weather, there were a lot of things that could prevent someone from getting right. And they certainly weren't going to come in at night. Yeah. So, you just have to be careful. We have a good time and we play around and we push the envelope a lot, but in situations like that, we were very careful and very protective of ourselves, and we didn't take many chances.
So where can you find this on old reruns or do they play this? Where can I find this 10 years worth of episodes to check out?
Well, it's, I have it still on DVDs. This is how old it was, right? We were on DVD. A lot of the digital stuff wasn't out. A lot of the YouTube channels and stuff like that hadn't really started up. That all just kind of came at the end. But it is out there. It is archived. In fact, we went through all the episodes that I have on DVD, and me and my cameraman, Mike Osborne, we've kind of filmed us talking about them, kind of reliving them, and then showing the footage, almost like if you can imagine, say the cast of Friends would have a reunion and they would sit around and talk maybe a little bit about a favorite episode, and then they would show the episode. Mm-hmm. So we're actually doing that to make it kind of new and putting it all onto a YouTube channel to get it out there, because we keep getting requests. We didn't for a couple of years, but here lately we've just been getting a lot of requests of, why aren't these episodes up on a channel? And people are coming back around. I guess I guess we got cool again. I don't know why the requests are coming in now, but
I can tell you why, because you can binge watch on the Meat Eater podcast, and once you finish the Meat Eater show, once you're done with that, then there's nothing else for a whole nother year. So that would be a great addition to be able to, if you're looking to watch the hunting stuff, which I never thought, since I don't hunt, I didn't think that I would be so interested in it. You know what I mean? But it just, I don't know, Ranella's show just sucked me in. Actually it was when I had COVID, I started watching that, and then it just, it's just so interesting, just the different ways to hunt, the different things that he does. He doesn't just hunt this, he fishes, he does, and then he cooks it too, which is pretty cool.
Hey, I hate to do this to you. I apologize, but for some reason, this charger I just plugged into is not charging, so I'm going to grab the other charger.
Okay.
If we're just going to take a quick second here, and I'll be right back.
Yep, no worries. And so while he's doing that, I'm going to take a little bit of minute to let everybody know my ex-brother-in-law, who's my daughter's uncle. His name's Brian Kranz, and he is Eli Tomac's, or he was his mechanic for like 11 years. So anybody who follows Supercross and watched Eli Tomac, he won the 250 class in Supercross. Then he went up to 450s, and he was started with Honda. Then he went to Kawasaki, and Brian followed him. It remained his mechanic for the last 11 years prior. And so that's the second longest motorcycle or rider mechanic relationship in Supercross history. So, and the reason why I'm telling you this is that Eli set up a GoFundMe for Brian because Brian came down with cancer, and Brian's only 40 years old. And so Eli decided to make a GoFundMe, and I'll put the link to that in here. He says some nice stuff. It was really, really heartfelt, thing that he wrote for Brian. And, with the first time that I had read it, my ex sent it to me, and dude, it put me into tears. I know this guy, spent a lot of time with him, family stuff, camping trips, family holidays and stuff like that. This dude's amazing, an amazing father. He has 3 little kids, man. And so I'm going to leave the link up there. You guys, if you're interested in checking it out, please help donate to this. For whatever reason, Kawasaki, their medical stuff doesn't really cover a whole lot. So he's having to come out of his pocket quite a bit for the treatments and stuff. So I'll have the link in there, and let's get back to Andy Ross. What's up, brother?
Hey, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. Cancer, man, it just seems to be on the rise. A lot of people are getting it, dude. A lot, like my generation, Generation X. I know 5 people that have cancer right now in my generation.
Yeah, it's hardly a day goes by, that you don't hear. And I think part of it for me, is the older I get, obviously I've got older friends. So, you're going to have more medical conditions with as you get older. But I've lost a bass player in my band to cancer. I've got a guitar player right now that's fighting cancer and moved back to his hometown and just having to really battle it. It's just you can't hardly go through a week without hearing this sad story. I'm sure sorry for your your colleague and your friend there. And putting that up and helping out.
Yeah, no, that's the least I can do. And I need to make another one. It's just, it's tough, man. Cause every time I go to do it, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that I'm not ready to help. It's just that I'm not in the emotional space to be able to do that without, falling apart.
Yeah. It's I lost my father 4 years ago to cancer. When I was a kid, I thought cancer was something that people got lung cancer because they smoked all their life. That's what I thought cancer was. I didn't know, until I got a lot older, that there were types of cancer and things happen to people for, don't even know what brought it on,
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a terrible way to go. It's an effort of trying to get better, and you see friends and people struggling through the treatments, and I wish there'd be an answer soon. I'm sure someday there will be.
Yeah, I hope so. I know there's a lot in my industry that I work in. Mechanical insulation was the original. Asbestos was the thing that we worked with. You know what I mean? And so we have a lot of mesothelioma in our trade, in our retirees and folks that have been exposed to that. Not everybody, but there's been quite a bit of it. And the mRNA technology was designed to help with that, and they just sort of piggybacked the last thing onto that to make it whatever. But that's really where the technology was, and they've been making a lot of advances in it as well. So, and like every year we have a golf tournament. It's called the Roger Hamilton Mesothelioma tournament that we put on for our union. And so there's a couple of doctors that are on the front lines of mesothelioma, and they come and they do a kind of like an update for everybody, where the science is, and the advances that they're making and where they're kind of at with it. Because a lot of that money that we raise for that goes directly to them for their research and stuff.
Yeah.
So I see also too, and we're at 32. We're going to wrap up here momentarily here. But the one thing I do want to talk about is I see that you had Patriot in your in what you've sent to me. Now, a lot of people are not wanting to claim that, you know what I mean, in anything, just because of the connotations of what it's become, from the last 3 years to the infamous January 6th thing. I've been labeled a domestic terrorist just for some of the stuff that I talk about, which, I mean, freedom. I mean, whoever thought that talking about freedom and freedom of speech and all of the stuff that goes along with that, that's being challenged right now in our society, in our media, all over the place.
Yeah, I'm definitely a patriot, pro Constitution, pro Second Amendment, big supporter of the Second Amendment. You're right. You bring things up in certain environments around certain groups of people, and you can catch a little slack for it, but I don't understand it. I mean, I'm going to defend the greatest country in the world. If you don't think we live in the greatest country in the world, just go live somewhere else for a while. I'm going to defend it. I have freedom of speech. I have freedom to write music any way I want to write it. I don't get my music censored. We have the greatest country in the world, and I'm going to stand up for it.
Absolutely. And I would 100% agree. The landscape is so much, just when you look around. I mean, I'm 48, so I was born in 73, which was around the time that, Vietnam War ended. I think it ended for good in 75, but 73, they started pulling out, and that's when all the stuff started happening. And, yeah, it's just, it's really strange. I've been watching a lot of documentaries and stuff, like JFK and like the Oswald documentary and stuff like that. And it really seems like the big change with everything happened after that day. When we lost Kennedy, I think we lost direction. Yeah, we went into a new direction with the neocons and the military industrial complex, which we were warned about by Eisenhower, which is funny because he was he's warning us about something, but he was right in the thick of getting us up too. Yeah, so
that's an interesting and a very thought out observation. But I hear what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've just been it seems to build on it. When we lose values and we lose pride and we lose our desire to speak out, then all of a sudden that becomes acceptable, and then in a few more years it's like we get pushed back into a bigger corner and a bigger corner. I was doing an interview on Freedom XM, and they asked me, because I play a lot of patriotic festivals. I mean, I play Armed Forces Day, Weekend for Our Heroes, the Freedom Festival. I play a lot of stuff like that. And I was asked if there were any of us left. And the truth of the matter is, now this is my opinion, but I still believe we're the majority. I think it's just half of the people who feel this way won't stand up. So it looks like there are fewer of us out there than there are, because a lot of people have just said, you know what, it's easier just to be quiet. Or I've got people now, and I'm sure this was the way with our parents and generations of parents, but I mean, I know grown adults with teenage kids and maybe adults that are a little older than teenagers, young adults. But their kids still one way, that this younger generation, as parents, they've decided, well, we just don't say anything about it at home because it upsets Todd or upsets Jenny, or, we don't want to argue with them. And it was probably the same way, when parents had adults through like the hippie generation and stuff, they probably were at odds with their kids. And, yeah, I still think we're the majority. I just think there's, people are not willing to stand up and talk about it and, share their real feelings.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we haven't been made that uncomfortable yet.
Yeah. And
the moment that happens, I think we're going to see a huge shift. And I think that what the FDA just put into whatever they did a couple of days ago for the kids and adding that to the schedule, that's not the end of that.
Yeah.
You're gonna see moms and parents the moment that this actually starts getting rolled out, because there's no uptake on it because no parents want it for their children. You know what I mean? And it's and I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but it's just the landscape is not recognizable anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely got a different look and feel to it. That's
So all I can hope for is that, the folks out there that, are for freedom and are for, being able to say things, even if you don't agree with what somebody has to say, the very fact that if they're going to say something that's stupid or not intelligent or just way out there, they should be able to say it, because most people will recognize that, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? We should be able to make that decision of not, of shaming that person, not, the government or, the social media companies who are acting on directed by the government.
Yeah.
To do it. And, a lot of people might say, oh, yeah, you don't have proof of that. But yes, there is proof of that. Alex Berenson actually sued Twitter for it. And in the lawsuit, the discovery ended up coming out that the government was the one that pushed him to do it. So,
yeah, it's going to be an interesting midterm election coming up here in November. And then, right after the midterms, I think the presidential debates and politics will start to heat up, because we'll be two years away from a presidential election. So
yeah,
whether people want it, I mean, it's going to, once the midterms get here and the 2 years leading up to who's going to run for president and who's going to, all those debates and all that start back up. It's the political season, because it's more people are paying attention to it and stuff. So we'll soon find out if people are willing to stand up and where our country leads.
Yeah, well, actually, we'll be able to see what movement the Democrats hijacked this time.
Oh, you can guarantee it.
What riots are they gonna say are okay? Although I don't think that they're going to be able to do that, considering we're so close on the 1/6 thing. You know what I mean? That's too close. We haven't had enough time to forget about it yet for them to go ahead and do the same thing without us being able to go, oh, wait a minute.
Well, we'll see. You guarantee you someone's going to try to pull something out of their hat somewhere. So it'll be an interesting political and time for the country for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for giving me your time and coming on to the show and sharing a little bit about your story and your successes on, whatever you've done. Because it sounds like anything you've touched, you've turned into a success. So kudos to you, man. That's awesome. And go ahead and plug any of your stuff that you want to do, that you want to share.
Well, all my social media, Instagram, all the social platforms are at Andy Ross Rebel. My website is andyross.com, and then our American Rebel, our business and our company is AmericanRebel.com. So Go check out our products and check out my music. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience, and thank you for having me on today.
Thank you. And I look forward to checking out some of your stuff now. I definitely want to go and look at your old, your hunting show. That sounds like it's going to be a good one for me to check out and replace, because I definitely binged the Meat Eater, and I run out of stuff to watch, so I'm definitely going to check that out. So thank you, Andy, and hang out just for a second, because I'm going to talk to you for just one moment.
Sure.
All right, guys. That's Andy Ross. Check him out, andyross.com. And as always, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is just noise.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.